Hi, and welcome to CityBeat. I'm your host, Beej, Recreation Coordinator with Lewiston Parks and Recreation. And today we have Assistant Engineer Alannah Bailey here as our guest. Alannah, how are you?
I am good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. So let's dive right in.
Okay.
So there is a large project going on at the end of Southway. That's like a circle thing, a roundabout thing. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Turnabout.
Yeah.
It's a roundabout. And we started construction on it in June, and we are getting very close to the end of it.
So how much longer are you expecting it to be?
Well, actually, the contractor, Poe, is the prime for it. They have until November, the middle of November, to be done, but they're looking to be complete by the end of September. So we are ahead of schedule.
And how often does that happen?
Not often at all. So they've done a really good job managing it, kind of changing the schedule that we anticipated.
Can you give the viewers a brief history of the project and how the whole roundabout thing came about?
I can. The project started in like '94. They started discussing we need to do something with this intersection. So from '94 until 2008, they worked on not only this intersection, but the whole corridor of Snake River Avenue from Country Club Road all the way to Main Street. They did kind of a preliminary design for what they'd like the road to look like as far as widths, adding stoplights, looking at possibilities for different solutions at Snake River and Southway. The roundabout option was the preferred alternative when they went through this process, but they also looked at rearranging the way traffic moves, adding stoplights, adding lanes, things like that.
I noticed pre-construction last year, there was some groundwork done that was done at the end of end of Southway and Snake River Avenue, and it looked like there was going to be a retainer pond or something. Is that a part of the roundabout?
Yes, and actually that was supposed to be built with the roundabout. It was in, I think, 2011. We built that retention pond, and if you walk on the levees there, you'll see it. It's pretty obvious. It stands out. It's seeded, but when there's a storm, it will fill up with water and then recede back down as it infiltrates into the ground. Also, I think there's been a really good job. There hasn't been a ton of closures. There's been a lot of detour work, but not a ton of closures. Was that planned? Was there a plan to make sure traffic flow? Well, we thought about closing the whole intersection down, but we thought about that for about 2 seconds and realized there's no way that we can shut this intersection down. It would have made the work faster, but it also would have been a huge issue for businesses, commuters, just everybody in the community would have had a lot of problems with that. So we provided the contractor with 2 full weekend closures to get the groundwork done or get paving done, whatever it was they could do over a whole weekend from Friday night until Monday morning. So we had 2 full weekend closures, and besides that, just some evenings where they can start at 8 o'clock and have to be completed by 6 o'clock in the morning to reduce the problems for commuters and businesses.
How often, I mean, when you're going to do projects like that, how often does that happen as far as like just a weekend closure rather than shutting her down for a week or 2 or 3?
It's actually really rare that we would do just weekend closures. Normally, if we're going to let them shut it down, we let them shut it down for the duration of the project. To do a weekend closure takes about 8 hours to set up and tear back down. So it's a lot of work and effort to make it happen. So once we do it, normally we let it stay for a while so they can get the work done quickly and efficiently. But like I said, for this intersection, there was no way we could let it stay closed.
Something that I've heard is that because there's a lot of grain trucks that go through there, that corridor, and other large trucks, there may be a concern about trucks in the roundabout. Can you shed some light on those concerns?
I can, because we have heard that kind of from the beginning. Trucks can't get through roundabouts. It's kind of the perception that's out there. And I can tell you this was designed for what's called a WB62. Basically means a single axle truck that's 62 feet from the front axle to the rear axle. So it's designed for that. That can make it through, but I'll guarantee you a larger truck can make it through as well. The thing to be aware of is when large trucks go through, they will take up both lanes because there's 2 lanes going around it. They will take up both lanes, so you don't drive next to the large trucks when you're going through one.
There's people riding bikes. There's people walking around near that on the levee or even up Southway. How have you addressed pedestrian safety issues?
Right. Well, studies show that there's actually increased safety for pedestrians going through roundabouts as opposed to a regular T intersection or a cross intersection. The reason is because you only have to cross one direction of traffic at a time. So you cross, you wait, you look, you cross one direction, and there's a center refuge island that you can stand in and wait to cross the next direction of traffic. And there's the yield signs for the vehicles coming in to stop for pedestrians and wait for pedestrians to get through before you continue.
Speaking about the refuge island, what is the design of the island? Is there going to be plant and fauna in there, or is it just going to be concrete? Well,
obviously the walking part's concrete. On both sides of it, we have what's called a stamped concrete. So it's colored and it has a decorative stamp on top of it. If anybody's been walking downtown Lewiston for the urban renewal project, there's a lot of that colored stamped concrete down there. So it's something similar to that. You'll see that both on the refuge islands as well as in the center of the roundabout.
Cool. So there's some continuity between that project and downtown, just as far as how it looks.
Yeah, there's some similarities to it. The stamp they use for the urban renewal is the same stamp for parts of the roundabout portion.
Cool.
Yeah.
So this being a new thing in Lewiston, what are some concerns that drivers may have, or how can a driver negotiate the roundabout?
Well, first I'd say for those that have concerns, we do have a website set up so they can get more information. But the general idea is when you come into the roundabout, there's signage that'll tell you which lane you need to be in. Basically, if you want to take a right turn, you need to be in the right lane because it's kind of more of a through movement. If you need to go straight through or make a U-turn back, you want to be in the left lane. When you approach it, there's a yield sign, so you look to your left, make sure there aren't any cars that are in the roundabout. If there are, you wait for them to clear, and then you come in behind them, and you continue around and make your exit to the right.
So look left, turn right.
Look left, turn right. That is the verbiage.
So everybody wants to know, with any sort of city project, what were funding? How much did things cost? Where did the money come from?
Construction specifically, it was about $2 million, just barely over $2 million, like $2,040,000, something like that. Approximately 93% is federal money, and then local city match is approximately 7%.
So again, we're talking about a significant federal portion that is taking care of this, and it's a very small percentage is actually local tax dollars.
Correct. Yes.
Because I think a lot of people assume that when a project's going on, that of course your tax dollars are going into it. However, the city match is significantly less than people assume or think.
Right. Of course, it's our federal money that's going into it, right? But if we don't use it, then other communities have the opportunity to use it. So that's how we get our projects done, because we don't have enough local dollars to do a $2 million project.
Right. What are other alternatives considered? And you briefly talked about that intersection, but was there any other alternatives within that intersection
that were considered?
Yeah.
There were 4 specific ones in this study. Like I said, it was completed in 2008, so it's been a while. But it was kind of realigning the intersection to make maybe the through movement more going northbound on Snake River to Southway. Plus, there was additional signals put in. It was 4 lanes each direction added, just different alternatives for the geometry of it with a signalization. So,
to saying that, now the project is almost complete. I'm sure you've gotten the question, what was wrong with it before? Was something wrong with it? So was it performing poorly, that intersection?
Okay, so the way engineers talk is level of services a lot of times. You get level of service A to level of service F, A being good, D being kind of where you're looking at, we probably need to do something here soon, and F is you're failing. You need to do something now. You're not traveling well. So this in 2004, which was the date of the last counts that we based the study on, we were at a level of service C and projected by the design year, which is 2030, to be a level of service F. So,
which is a failure.
Which is a complete failure, yes. So we like to do our projects before we completely fail. So that's kind of why this project was done.
Cool. So I know there's some construction on Prospect Avenue. What happened?
Prospect Avenue, it was way too close to the intersection to be tied in. Added a lot more conflict points, and it couldn't be included in it. So it's been turned into a one-way, or it's being turned into a one-way. There's some drainage features that are being added because there was some drainage problems running down through there. And there's now connectivity from Prospect down to the Snake River Southway trails.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
How can we find out? You briefly talked about the website. How can we find out more about information about the project?
Like I said, on the website, if you go to our cityoflewiston.org and get into Public Works, we have project pages set up. And this one, I don't know if it's called Snake River Southway Roundabout, or you'll see it's a roundabout. And there's some brochures on there that give you information on how to drive one. It talks about safety. There's some specific information on pedestrians and bicycles traveling through and how they need to walk through or ride through them.
Now that this project is nearly complete, has there been any discussion for further roundabouts within the city?
There has been. About 2 years ago, we had some public meetings regarding a roundabout at Thane, Powers, and 14th Street up in the Orchard, which is another kind of an entry point to the city, I would say. That place has been looked at for a roundabout because the geometry is a little awkward up there, so signalization was considered, roundabout was considered. We had some public meetings, did a couple of traffic studies, and we are proceeding with a final design for the roundabout up there as well.
And that was on Thane and?
Thane, Powers, and 14th.
Okay, so yeah, that kind of crazy intersection at the east end of...
And 14th is another street, kind of like Prospect, where it's too close to the intersection. So that one is going to be removed from being in that intersection as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting. How there's kind of some similarities between those two. Before we end, is there anything else you'd like to add and let people know if they can get a hold of you, or find any information about future projects for the city?
I would just encourage people to look on our website. Like I said, you can get updates for when we change things or add new information during the construction season. For instance, when we do our street maintenance during the year, we always send updates out. You can get them via text or via email, so you can maybe avoid streets or know what hours you might want to expect delays.
And that's really helpful when you're tooling around town, because there's a lot of times you don't even think about. You're just like, oh no, this is closed. What am I going to do? You're going to take a left and then a right and then a right and then so. Having that information, on your phone or at hand is pretty helpful. I
hope so. And I know, like ATK in the vicinity of the roundabout, I think their employees were getting involved in getting those texts so that they knew, because they do shift work, if they needed to leave work early or leave to go to work early, so they can be there on time.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming out to CityBeat and hanging out and letting us know about the roundabout project, which will be completed very shortly. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on CityBeat.